This season has witnessed some pretty amazing and deep-rooted dramas come out. She Said, Women Talking, and Tar are unquestionably among those dramas. They all share a common theme where they confront and how women handle everything that follows. In this video, we're diving deep into the Me Too movement and how it's been depicted in these dramas to create such a powerful and lasting impact. Let's get started. First up, here's where it comes from. A simple mouse click can roughly pinpoint the start of the Me Too movement, which is a response to widespread sexual misconduct and abuse. A New York Times investigation on Harvey Weinstein, a legendary figure in Hollywood with a lengthy history of systemic abuse, was published on October 5, 2017, sparking an online and offline outpouring of condemnation and support. Activist Tarana Burke first used the term Me Too over 10 years ago as a tool for Black women to tell their tales of Tarana Burke started the Me Too movement in 2006 to help victims, especially young women of color from poor neighborhoods. She helped them find their way to healing. The goal of the campaign has been to address the lack of resources for assault survivors, as well as to create a strong network of supporters and allies. When the Me Too hashtag went popular in October 2017 and survivors from all over the world came forward to share their stories of this movement became international. Next, movies jumped into the scene. The initial scene, reporters and editors crowding over a computer screen, mouse hesitating on the publish button, is the narrative climax of She Said, a new cinematic adaptation of reporters Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey's book on the Weinstein probe. She Said is the most overt of the so-called Me Too movies, which showcase revelations of abuse, examine the upheaval of powerful abusers, struggle with the ramifications, or imagine a way forward 5 years after the movement's beginning. The movie, which was directed by Maria Schrader of Unorthodox, is essentially the Hollywood version of the quest to discover what had been an unrevealed secret in Hollywood for years. But it's only one of many this year that are obviously influenced by the movement. Tar, a sophisticated, hard film directed by Todd Field featuring Cate Blanchett as a chillingly lauded maestro, undoes its blinkered protagonist through the public disclosure of her inappropriate relationship with female protégés. The 2018 novel by Miriam Toews was adapted for the screen by filmmaker Sarah Polley, and it is titled Women Talking. Women from 3 significant families gather in a hayloft in an isolated Mennonite community in Bolivia after a string of horrific attacks by men armed with livestock rohypnol to consider their options: remain silent, defend themselves, or flee. The movie and book are based on a true story of at least 150 women and girls being assaulted between 2005 and 2009 by at least 8 men. Are you noticing the pattern in all these films? Let's explore it some more. Now, let's put the films together. Together, the 3 films, all of which have been or will be released this fall and winter, mark a turning point for the Me Too movement as they mark the anniversary of the movement's beginning. They offer reflections with a narrow but still significant critical distance and serve as examples of the diversity of cinematic responses to the movement. Notably, all 3 avoid showing violence and instead rely on conversation, visual cues, and the audience's presumption that they are familiar with media coverage to convey the facts of trauma. This may be a reaction to the graphic images of violence that were prevalent on prestige television in the 2010s, most notably on Game of Thrones, where Ramsay Bolton assault of Sansa Stark in the 5th season served as a low point and a plot device for witness Theon Greyjoy is shown as negative space in all 3 films. The depictions of the attacks in Women Talking, we instead see the morning after, bruises, blood, confusion, and cries, and save for one fleeting view of a man sprinting away, its perpetrators are all skillfully used, as Slate's Dana Stevens argues, to paint a picture of trauma and complicity. The crimes and Weinstein's pessimistic presence in She Said, Tar is the victim's point of view, a former student whom we only catch a peek of through Lydia's lens. Moving on to how other films have included the Me Too movement. In Kitty Green's unnerving 2020 depiction of toxic proximity, The Assistant, we don't witness an attack, its aftermath, or even the big bad boss, but instead, signs point to something evil and filthy festering at work during a day in the life of a low-level assistant at a Weinstein-esque production business. We, the audience, who are probably familiar with Weinstein coverage, may sense the entire picture in the context of a syringe in the boss's trash can, a meeting with a lovely young actor transferred to a hotel room, and a fruitless meeting with HR. The jawbreaker with a poisonous core of Emerald Fennell's Promising Young Woman is radically different in tone, but it prioritizes the toxic effects of on a witness over showing the act itself. Bombshell, Jay Roach's star-studded depiction of Roger Ailes' 2016 dethroning at Fox News by 3 anchors he abused and mentored, and which probably created the framework for the Weinstein inquiry not falling on deaf ears, does include a heartbreaking casting couch scene between Ailes and a fictional young anchor played by Margot Robbie. However, the movie mostly complies with the idea that, as of 2017, Me Too movies should serve as a corrective by putting women's opinions front and center. Unfortunately for Bombshell, the movie pulled its toughest punches when it came to those women who were Fox News anchors with awful political views. The underappreciated 2018 HBO film The Tale adopts this viewpoint and spirals. It strives for and succeeds in the psychological reality of coming to grips with terrible experience. The Tale does have sequences of of a young girl. Up next, here's the role television has played in backing up the movement. Television has acted more as an unreliable interlocutor and a hazy reflection because of its quicker turnaround time and more adaptable structure. For example, the morning show's properly nasty first-season plotline was based on Matt Lauer being fired from the Today Show following an internal complaint of sexual assault. We gave it points at the time for trying, even though the dialogue had the delicacy and complexity of a car wreck. Ailes is also discussed in the 2019 Showtime series The Loudest Voice, which also has a Me Too theme, but we have to say I May Destroy You, Michaela Coel's 2020 masterpiece, is the best expression of processing while living a life. Let's take a deeper look at the 3 movies now. She Said, Tar, and Women Talking are in a vigorous conversation, with She Said being the most straightforward of the 3. It's a classic journalism drama after all, and it's better than it should be because it stays away from the distraction of celebrity imitation and cleverly gives Weinstein's less famous victims, who are skilled at putting their lives back together, the spotlight. It's a resonant recent history, but maybe still too soon. The movie's opening weekend gross of $2.25 million was among the lowest for a big studio film opening in more than 2,000 theaters. Tar is by far the best movie. It is a daring and mesmerizing combination of subjects that should be taboo, such as Me Too, in which the victim is a self-described U-Haul lesbian, cancel culture, and digital realism with social media screenshots. One of Tar's greatest assets is how it defies expectations by constantly and transgressively enveloping the perpetrator with her narcissism directing our sensory intake. The intensity and ugliness of Lydia Tar's sins can be understood without knowing the specifics of them. You must understand that she possessed amazing talent and that those things might not be reconcilable. Tar is a story that defies easy moralizing and draws clear distinctions while always equivocating on its subject's behavior. It is also a reminder that nothing worthwhile ever comes easily. But you know which movie we think came out better than all the others? Let's dive into that next. Finally, here's the clear winner. Women Talking is the most promising path forward, the only one that attempts to answer the movement's difficult problems. It's intellectually more powerful than it is visually, since the desaturated color scheme corresponds to the loss of community faith while ultimately making it feel more remote. Perhaps a stage would be a better place for some of the monologues. However, its premise, that women conversing is an activity in and of itself, seems startlingly novel. When Promising Young Woman was receiving awards hype in 2021, we pondered what a Me Too film that burned past rage might look like, and what a movie that looked beyond trauma to healing, complication, growth, and continuation might look like. It would probably resemble Polly's film, in which almost all the protagonists are female and brainstorm ways to seek justice, with the exception of a literate male schoolteacher and a trans man who was also the target of the attacks. But what happens next in a world where this is one of many things? What would healing actually look like? What would justice look like? We hope the next wave of Me Too movies explore one of these sides more. That's a wrap for this video. Which movie, in your opinion, offers the best depiction of the Me Too movement? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.